Welcome to Distress to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Reber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental health disorders out there, bipolar disorder. In each episode, we'll learn more about my personal journey with bipolar 2 disorder, how I've struggled with it, and how I've learned to overcome those struggles. Together, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and most importantly, we'll have fun. You'll leave each episode feeling hopeful and stocked full of useful information on how you can better yourself and the world around you. Hello, friends. Long time no talk, or if you are on YouTube or you regularly tune in via YouTube to see my face, long time no see. So the announcements today are why I have disappeared for almost a month. And that's because life has just been completely overwhelming lately. That is the reason why I had to pause the podcast. I went MIA on social media, which, just so you guys know, if I ever go MIA on social media, whether it be my personal account or this podcast channel's account, I am overwhelmed. That's like my first MO is to just completely go MIA on social media. And then after going MIA on social media, I immediately stop responding to text messages. That is another response that I have to feeling overwhelmed by life. So things have just been insane. We made 2 trips last month. We flew to Oregon for 5 days to spend time with my husband's friends. And then we came back to Houston for 3 days. And then we flew to New York for 48 hours to surprise one of my husband's other friends who he grew up with in India, because it was his birthday. It was a surprise trip. It was super awesome. His wife planned it. It was great. But yeah, that was a lot of travel back to back. Plus I have schoolwork and, other work and trying to keep up with this podcast and a couple other things and a wedding I'm planning. And holy shit, that's a lot. And when you travel, it takes you away from certain things that you would need to work on at home. Like, for instance, sending out our save the dates. That's a at-home project. I can't do that in New York City or in Portland, Oregon, which I'm there to see friends anyways. So I need to focus on them. So yeah, it's just been a lot. And I was feeling incredibly stressed out, and I just had to take a step back. And with that, I'm deciding to make a mature decision and only do 2 podcast episodes per month for the time being. So the episodes are strictly going to be bipolar and life and anxiety and mental health related. I'm going to stick with that for now. So we're getting rid of travel tales. We will come back to that. I might sneak them in here and there when I have time to do so. But I need to focus on myself, my mental health, my physical health, and just not being so damn stressed out. I've put too much on my own plate. That is something I continuously struggle with. If you guys have tuned in since day one, or if you know me personally, you should know by now that is something that I always do. And to be honest, I think that is a trauma response for me. I used to respond to trauma by drinking away my depression, my feelings, numbing my pain, whatever, which then caused more problems. So later on, I found exercise as a way to avoid my trauma by just exercising like crazy, because those endorphins feel great, right? So now what I'm finding is that I am avoiding dealing with trauma and anxiety by staying busy, because if I'm busy, I can't think about that shit. But then I pile on too much, and then I create more stress for myself. And it is a vicious cycle that I have not been able to break. So I think the best thing for me to do right now, personally, to take care of myself, is to go down to just twice a month with the podcast episodes. And I really, really appreciate you guys who are still here, tuning in, supporting the show. I have done this quite a bit, where I have started with this many and gone down and gone up and gone down. And I hope you guys can understand that with this being a mental health podcast, the number one thing that's the most important is taking care of our own mental health. So I can't stress myself out while trying to continue to do something I said I was going to do previously. So that goes back to episode 1 of this season of the show, which is learning to be flexible in life. And this is an example of that right here, where I am being flexible and I'm shifting and I'm changing some things because it is important for me to do so. So thanks for understanding. I super appreciate it. Now, before we dive into the episode for today, I do have a self-reflection corner to share with you guys. And I'm actually really excited to share this one because it is something that I realized literally like 4 days ago. And that is the question of, okay, well, why am I always so inclusive of others? The reason that is being brought up is last week I hit 800 check-ins with Camp Gladiator. So if you don't know what that means, Camp Gladiator is a boot camp program that I have been doing since the end of 2018. Every time you go to a workout camp, which they're always outside, you get on your app and you check in and you say, yes, I'm here. And every time you do that, it starts like adding them up, right? And so what the trainers do is anytime somebody gets 50, 100, 150, 250, whatever, in increments of 50, it's a celebration because it's like, damn, you showed up 50 times. You exercised 50 hours. Like, that's incredible. And it's one of the things that I really, really love about this boot camp is that there's a lot of positive reinforcement. And so on Thursday last week, I hit 800 check-ins, which is huge. And I'm so, so proud of myself. And upon doing so, my trainer, she wrote something when she posted about it on Facebook that I'm actually going to read to you right now because this got me thinking. So I'm not going to read the entire post. It's a little lengthy, but I am going to read from check-in number 1 to check-in number 800. She's created the world that is all hers. From sharing and inviting everyone who will join her, she has shared both her physical and mental health journey with others and has made an impact on more than she'll ever know, which I'm tearing up now. God damn it. So that part right there, the part of the sentence that says from sharing and inviting anyone who will join her. I thought about that and I was like, yeah, holy shit. Like I do that. I include people all the time. Like even if I make a new friend like 2 weeks ago and I'm having a birthday party, I'll invite them. Like one of the things I love doing, I super, super love doing is having events and just bringing all of my friends together. Whether or not they're friends with each other does not matter to me. I just want people coming together because the connection in doing that is so, so important. But like, why? Why do I do this? Like, what the heck? And I finally figured it out. It's because, unfortunately, when I was growing up, I was not included in my own family in a lot of different things. And the most hurtful one that actually happened when I was in my 20s, which is really, really sad, is when my family went. So let me back up a little bit. So my sister moved to California. She got married in 2014 and moved up there. And when she moved to California, my mom, my dad, and my brother made a trip to go see her in California. Nobody told me. I was not invited and I was not, I didn't even know about it, guys, until I saw on Facebook. I found out on Facebook that my family went to go visit my sister in California without me. And that was really, really hurtful. And I was incredibly upset because I'm here like, okay, the family is all together, but what about me? Am I not a part of this family? Because that's literally how it made me feel. It made me feel like, oh shit, okay, I guess I'm not in this family. And y'all, this was long before I stopped speaking to my parents completely. Long before. And it was really, really hurtful. And at that time, like it kind of validated my entire experience growing up, feeling like I wasn't a part of the family that I grew up in. I have always felt like the black sheep. I was always treated differently. And seeing that was validation. And then, guys, a year later, my mom did the exact same shit. She literally did it again a year or a year and a half later. My mom went on a girls' trip with my sister and her friend, and I didn't find out until later on Facebook. And it was just for no reason. My sister, it wasn't her birthday. She didn't graduate college. There was no reason for that. It was just to go on a girls trip. And I remember calling my mom. I remember specifically, I was driving back to the house that I was living in at the time, and I was going north on Fairbanks, North Houston, right after crossing 290. Y'all, my memory is impeccable. I always joke that I have the memory of an elephant, but I have a really incredible memory. And I remember being on that road driving on the phone with her, crying, being upset. How come you took her on a trip and you didn't take me? Why wasn't I invited? I don't understand. So because she got caught, because I found out on Facebook, which my mom wasn't a Facebook user at the time, which I don't know if she even is now, but because she got caught, then she decided to, quote, make it up to me and take me on a girls trip later on, which ended up being her picking everything out. And that's another story for another day. But yeah, so these things, growing up, not feeling included, not feeling a part of the family that I was supposed to be part of, has turned me into an adult where anytime I am doing something, I want to include anyone that I can, because I don't want somebody else to feel like that. I don't. It's so shitty. It is so shitty to not be included, especially when you thought that you were a part of this already. It's so shitty. And so, yeah. So that is why I do that. That is something that I came to realize last week, that oh shit, that's why I do that. And I will always do that. I will always include and invite people. And sometimes I get butthurt when people don't show up. But I would rather invite somebody and then not show up than not invite somebody and have them feeling excluded. Because I hate that feeling. It sucks so bad. It sucks so bad. If you've never been excluded, I am so happy for you because it's a horrible feeling. And I really, truly hope that hearing this will help some of you guys maybe think twice before you exclude someone who should maybe be included in things. So yeah, thanks for listening to that rant. Let's go ahead and dive into today's episode, which is understanding the relationship between anxiety and bipolar disorder. So I'm going to start by reading some super valuable information that I found in an article on medicalnewstoday.com, which is titled, "What is the connection between anxiety and bipolar disorder?" So this article was written by Lauren Martin and medically reviewed by Alyssa Peckham, who is a PharmD BCPP, whatever that means. But you can find the link to this article in today's show notes for anyone who wants to fully read it. I highly recommend you do that. So the article starts out by saying, bipolar disorder and anxiety disorders have a high comorbidity, which I hope I pronounced right. This means that they commonly occur at the same time. According to one 2019 review, more than 50% of people with bipolar disorder will likely develop an anxiety disorder at some point in their lives. This can cause complications, including more severe illness, delayed diagnosis, and increased suicide risk. So, how are these two conditions connected? Let's move into what the article says about that. Anxiety disorders often occur alongside other mental health conditions. However, they are particularly common in people with bipolar disorder. People with bipolar disorder are 3 to 7 times more likely to receive an anxiety disorder diagnosis than the rest of the population. So, they had said in this article that scientists are not sure why. There's no answer to why this is the case, but this is what the data shows. So people with bipolar disorder tend to have the following types of anxiety disorders, which are panic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which I had no idea that PTSD is considered an anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, which is GAD is like the short for that, and then obsessive compulsive disorder, which we all know as OCD. So, fun fact, because PTSD is listed as an anxiety disorder, I have that and I have generalized anxiety disorder on top of my bipolar too. Wow, that is a trifecta right there that I have, and it is not fun. So, how does anxiety affect bipolar disorder? Well, that is a great question, my friend. The article goes on to say that when a person has both of these conditions, they may find that their anxiety affects the symptoms of bipolar disorder, which could lead to more mixed manic and depressive episodes, an increase in the severity of mood episodes, medication resistance, a greater risk of substance use, medication side effects, more psychological distress, and a poorer quality of life. So let's now take a moment to talk about the symptoms that come along with this. So although anxiety and bipolar disorders have some similarities, they have some distinct sets of symptoms and diagnostic criteria. However, some symptoms suggest a person may have a co-occurring anxiety, and that includes a persistent, intense feeling of nervousness. This includes worrying, anxiety, and panic attacks. A person may also avoid taking part in certain activities, and these symptoms can persist during manic and depressive episodes. So that right there, the persistent, intense feeling of nervousness, I have experienced that in a couple different ways. And the first time I ever really remember experiencing this was right when Moni and I came back from India in March of 2022, and we had told his parents that we were planning to get married and like we were going to move forward. He was going to propose later on, and we're going to do this thing. And a bunch of anxiety started to hit me because we knew we would be doing a wedding in India. We had discussed it with his parents that we're going to do it December of 2023. And that was I wanted to do this. Don't get me wrong, y'all. I wanted to have this Indian wedding, but holy shit, that brought a level of anxiety that I was not expecting. And it just started swirling. Like he hadn't even proposed yet. We hadn't even picked out a venue or anything. And it just started swirling in my mind. And sometimes I couldn't sleep because of it. Like I couldn't stop it. It was nothing I could control. It was just zooming around up there, just wreaking havoc, causing me to not be able to focus on things at work or at school. It was very odd. Like I hadn't experienced something like that before. And that I think was the first real time I'd experienced like some real live generalized anxiety. So another symptom that they talk about is having sleep problems. They say that people may find they have issues sleeping even when they are not in a manic state. They might feel persistently anxious despite receiving treatment. So literally, I just mentioned that. I was having trouble sleeping, which I have had a history of having trouble of sleeping. Often during manic episodes, hypomanic episodes, where I would just not be able to calm down or like the energy was just way too high and I just couldn't sleep. That has always been an issue. I've also had issues with sleeping during depressive episodes because I lay there and I'm just like overthinking all kinds of shit. And anxiety has also caused sleep problems with me too. So actually, I have a really good article where I talk about the bedtime routine that has just completely transformed my sleep. I'm going to drop that in the show notes for any of you guys who also might have some sleep issues. But the best thing I have done for myself is implement a bedtime routine. Like that has changed the game. I have less trouble sleeping now. I used to have to take melatonin, which is like a sleep supplement. I used to have to take that every single night to fall asleep. And now I just take it on occasion. I try not to even do that, but I still sometimes do that. But yeah, I mean, I can go to sleep now on a regular time and not stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning for no reason. And it's great. It's great. So that is something, if you are listening right now and you're struggling with sleep, I really recommend that you consider some type of bedtime routine to help wind down to get to sleep. So again, I'll drop the link in the show notes so you can see what I do and the suggestions I have to creating your own, because we're all different and we all respond to things differently. So yeah, those are some things and another thing that I have definitely experienced is I have experienced panic attacks. That is something that has affected me, not recently, thank God. Actually, I haven't had one since we got back from India. But seriously, from March, no, it was April of 2022 when I experienced my first panic attack. And it was very, very low. I actually have an episode where I talk about anxiety, I go into way more details on the panic attacks I've had. I'm going to drop that in the show notes as well. So if you want to listen to that and kind of hear more about my personal experiences with anxiety and panic attacks, please do so that you can kind of get a general understanding of what it could possibly feel like. Again, we all experience things differently. I am not giving medical advice at all. Let me drop that disclaimer in here. But panic attacks were happening a lot for me last year in 2023. And I do think a lot of that had to do with the stress of our wedding in India. We were getting married on the other side of the world, y'all. Do you know how hard it is to plan a wedding on the other fucking side of the world? It's really difficult. This wedding that we're planning in Texas right now, I've had some stress, but honestly, I don't feel the way that I did when planning that one. So any of y'all that are planning weddings, the stress, please know you're not alone, but please take care of yourself, because I would hate for you to experience some of the things that I did, because it really sucked. Last year was really, really hard, and I can already feel a difference in this year versus last year. All right, so what do we do in order to feel better? How can we assist our anxiety so that it doesn't overrun our lives? That's a better way to phrase that. So, friend, you are full of some great questions today. I applaud you. Thanks for your help. So the very first thing that you should always do first, number one, is talk to a medical professional, because that should always be the first step in order to get a diagnosis or figure out if you need medication, whatever it is. That is who you should go to first, because Dr. Google should never be the one to diagnose you. Ever. ever. Go see a real live medical professional. So if you're past that, or if you have already seen one and you're still struggling, dude, I totally get you. I also still struggle, even though I have medication. Even though I have a therapist and a psychiatrist, I still struggle too. So some of the things that we can do for self-care for anxiety, I found a list of them on mind.org.uk, which again, you can find that in today's show notes. But they recommend a pretty good list of different types of ways that you can cope with anxiety and things that you can do to take care of yourself to ease some of your anxiety. And the first one they mention is talk to someone you trust. They say that speaking your worries out loud can be a relief, and it's kind of like talk therapy, for example. When I go see my therapist, I talk things out. It gets that shit out of my body, and it allows me to feel some relief and feel more at ease with whatever situation I'm dealing with. Same thing with your anxiety. If you are worrying about something, if you can't afford a therapist, I totally understand. So that's why they mention talk to someone that you trust so that you can ease some of this and kind of get some of those burdens off of your chest. So the next one they mention is manage your worries. So they say that anxiety can make it really hard to stop worrying. Hello, I know that firsthand from experience. You might have worries that you cannot control, or you might feel like you need to keep worrying because it feels useful to worry. Or that some bad things might happen if you don't worry. So it can be really helpful to try addressing a couple of different ways to address these worries. And they say that you could set aside a specific time to focus on these. So that way you can reassure yourself you haven't forgotten to think about them. So some people find it's helpful to set a timer. And I fully agree with the timer thing. So I read somewhere about complaining, and that if you want to complain about something in life, a situation, you have some frustrations, whatever it is, that you set a timer for 5 minutes and you complain to your friend, to your husband, to your dog for 5 minutes. And when that timer stops, you stop complaining and you move on and you move forward, because if there's nothing you can do about it, then why continue to complain about it for hours or days on end? So just get it out of your system for 5 minutes and force yourself to move on. So I do think that that could help with these anxieties. Allow yourself some time, 5 minutes, maybe you need 20 minutes, whatever, to verbalize it to your friend, your husband, your mom, your dog, or write about it in your journal for 20 minutes and get that shit out. But don't allow yourself to keep going. Make it a stopping point, because otherwise your head will keep spinning, y'all. Your head will keep spinning. I know this again from experience, unfortunately. Oh, and literally the next thing that they say is to write down your worries and keep them in a particular place. For example, you could write them in a journal. Boom. So those I do think are helpful. Again, you are releasing it from your body, and I do think that those things are very important in order to be able to continue to move through your day without letting your anxiety control you. So the next thing that they list is breathing exercises. They say that these can help you cope and feel more in control. So I personally like to use the breathing exercises on my Apple Watch. So there's literally, guys, if you don't have an Apple Watch, there's literally a setting where it you watch and you breathe in as the circle gets big and you breathe out as it gets small. And you just do that for a whole minute and it really has a calming effect. Seriously. I do try to do it once a day and I am totally inconsistent and I suck at it. But I especially use it when I am feeling high in anxiety land. If I'm feeling heightened, if I'm feeling angry, I use it too, not just anxiety, also with anger. I remember I had a really stressful job 2 summers ago, and God, it was so stressful. I would literally go into the bathroom and just do the breathing exercise in order to continue on, because I just couldn't. I just could not move through if I didn't do something to get my heart rate down, to get myself feeling more in control. And breathing exercises help a lot. Another technique that you can do if you don't have an Apple Watch is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise that I discussed in episode 3 of this season, How to Manage Bipolar Disorder Bailey's Way. So I'm going to put all of this information back into today's show notes as well. So if any of y'all missed it in that episode, but I do a mock version of that grounding exercise in that podcast episode. So I do think that if you are interested in doing that technique, sure, read about it in the show notes. But if you want to hear an actual experience of what it's like, go check that out. This you can do anytime, anywhere, and you don't need any kind of technology involved. Another thing that they say is to look after your physical health. And this is what I like to call the big 3 that keep me feeling like me. And those big 3 items are sleep, diet, and exercise. So sleep is super important, y'all. I think we all know this, but it is super important to try to get enough sleep, as this will give you energy to be able to cope with difficult feelings and experiences in life. Again, a bedtime routine could be helpful. Hint, hint, wink, wink, whatever. So diet. Think about your diet. So eating regularly, consistent meals throughout the day, and eating healthy meals specifically, those types of things will help keep you more in balance and more in control. I know this too. I have talked about this in previous episodes. There was a point in my life when I weighed 200 pounds, and that was because of poor diet and drinking a lot of alcohol and not exercising. So when I started exercising and I cut out the alcohol and started eating healthy, Literally, I felt a difference. My body felt so different and so much better. It was wild. So even nowadays, I slipped last year a lot. I didn't exercise as much as I should have. I definitely let my diet go to trash and gained some weight back, unfortunately. But I noticed a difference in how I felt last year versus this year. I'm doing so much better with eating healthy, and I can feel a difference. Totally. And then number 3, of course, is what I just mentioned, exercise. Because exercise gives you endorphins, and endorphins make you happy. And happy people don't kill their husbands. They just don't. If you didn't get that reference, that is Legally Blonde, Elle Woods, and I love that quote, and I will continue to throw it in every time I talk about exercise. So the final thing that they mention is to journal about it. So y'all know I'm a big journaler, and they say that this could help you to spot patterns in your triggers, which I do fully agree with. But also they mention that you can make note of things that are going well, because it's really easy to dwell on the shitty things. God, it's so easy. But if you can take some time to be kind to yourself and to talk about the good things, whether it be physically talk or write them in your journal, that can help. That goes back to gratitude, which you guys also should know by now that I love gratitude. I have an episode on that, how gratitude changed my life. I'm going to put that in the show notes for today as well. But focusing on the positive can really help to minimize those negative feelings and kind of keep them more in check and at bay. And I have learned that, and I hope that you guys can see that too, or experience that for yourself more specifically. So if you're not into gratitude yet, I really suggest that you tune into How Gratitude Changed My Life episode so you can really see what that did for me and how it's improved my quality of life. Okay, so I want to end this episode by sharing a recent incident that occurred where anxiety tried to take over my entire weekend, although I was able to take control of the anxiety instead. So I think it's really important to share this story because this one small success will lead to more small successes as time goes on. And guys, overcoming anxiety is possible, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take one small success after another. Practice makes progress, y'all. So I'm not going to go into too many details, but I had to ship something off and there was a deadline. And it was supposed to be there by a certain time on a certain day. And I spent a bunch of money at FedEx trying to ensure that this thing got there on time like it was supposed to. And I found out Saturday morning that it did not arrive, even though I spent so much money sending it to get there on time. Y'all, I had a breakdown. I was screaming, I was crying, I was so upset, I was so angry. I called FedEx. What the hell is going on here? This should have gotten there. I paid you $200 to get there. Why was it not delivered? So their response was, well, we tried to deliver it, but nobody was there. And I'm like, what the heck? That doesn't make sense. It was during business hours. Like, what? So they're like, yeah, we'll try again on Monday. Are you freaking kidding me? It's not due Monday. It was due Friday. It's Saturday. What the hell? So angry, so mad. But there was literally nothing I could do. So the only thing I could do actually was send an email letting them know what was going on and that this unfortunate mishap was out of my control. I am so sorry. I do hope that you'll allow this to, still be accepted even though it's past the deadline. I sent that email. I laid on the couch over there. I cried a bunch. And I was really, really upset. And this just kept spinning in my mind. So then it was time for Moni and I to leave for a yoga class we were attending. And I thought about not going because I was really upset. But then I was like, no, yoga will help. Yoga will help to calm me down. It'll help to center me and it'll help me feel better. So we went to yoga and it did help me feel better until the end of class. When you have I think it's Shavasana, where you lay down flat for like 5 minutes. And I kept trying so hard just to be present. I was trying to focus on the sounds I was hearing around me, but my head kept going back to this mishap. and how upset I was and how sad I was. And we came home and I laid on the couch again for 2 hours and watched some Netflix and was just sad. Until finally I was like, you know what? Let me eat. I need to eat. Moni was like, I will go get you some food. You need to eat. Yes, you're right. Let me eat. So I ate lunch, and after lunch I decided, you know what? There's nothing I can do. There's absolutely nothing I can do. This entire situation is out of my control. So let me enjoy the rest of my weekend. Let me do the things I said I was going to do and try to forget about it. Because again, this is out of my control. Worrying is not going to do anything. Dwelling on it is not going to do anything but ruin my weekend. And I don't want to have a ruined weekend. I want a good weekend. So we worked on some wedding stuff. Our friend came over and we spent 3 hours cooking this extravagant dinner. The next day, I woke up. I almost started worrying again Sunday morning, y'all. But I was like, no, I'm going to have a good Sunday. So we got up. We did some shit around the house. We ran errands. We made phone calls to family members. We did an impromptu date night. We had a great Sunday. And guess what? I got an email Sunday evening saying, you know what? I wasn't there when that package was delivered and I apologize. So I'm going to take care of it on Monday. Don't worry. Holy shit. I literally would have worried for nothing, y'all. Everything worked out in the end. Everything had worked out in the end. Had I allowed my anxiety to take over, I would have wasted my whole weekend. I would have probably canceled the dinner plans with a friend. I would have moped around. I would have laid on the couch crying. For what? It worked out. It freaking worked out. Even if it hadn't worked out, what good would it have done to just lay around and worry the whole time over something I had no control over? My God, I literally told Moni, I was like, choosing not to worry and dwell on this, I think that everything worked out because I didn't do that, because I didn't allow it, because I didn't let it cloud my mind. I said, you know what? This is out of my hands. I'm just going to live my life and just whatever the outcome is, just accept it. And I think the universe sent me this email and was like, you know what? Good job, girl. You didn't let anxiety win, so we're going to let you win. And we're going to let this work out for you. And goddamn. Yes. So guys, that right there is an example of what you can try to do instead. Try. It is so hard. Trust me, I know. It was so hard for me to do that. Thankfully, I had plans lined up. I had things that were happening that I could get my mind off of this and keep my mind elsewhere. And that's something I might recommend for you. If there's something that you are dwelling on and it is out of your control and you've already done everything you can do and it's still fogging up your mind, dude, go on a walk, go on a bike ride, play with your dog, call a friend, make some plans to do something fun to get you out of your head. I cannot wait to try this. Actually, I can't wait to try again. I don't want to feel anxiety. But the next time anxiety tries to cloud my mind, I'm going to think about this incident and be like, you know what? There was that one time I didn't let anxiety win and everything worked out and I had a great fucking weekend. So let me try that again. Let me try to not let anxiety win yet again. Because if I did it once, I can do it again. And the more I practice, the easier it will become. And God, life is just going to feel so much better as time goes on. So I hope that this is inspiring to you to let you know that even if you're struggling with anxiety now, there's a way out. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Put in the effort. Put in the work, and you will create a much more easy and fun and happy life for yourself. I guarantee it. Okay, so we're going to skip one of the week this week because we're already 40 minutes into recording. So in the next episode, we are going to talk about therapy and why you need it, but also what it is specifically and how it has impacted and benefited my life. Guys, I've had the same therapist for 12 years now. 12 years. There was a tiny break in between. We'll get into all of those details in the next episode. But yeah, I'm excited to share more about that. Therapy is becoming more and more, quote, acceptable in society. When I started therapy, it was something that people did not do. And if they did do it, they didn't talk about it because it was, quote, shameful. But nowadays, people wearing t-shirts saying therapy is cool, and I fucking love it because it is. Therapy has tremendously helped change my life for the better, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. So, until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye! Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Distressed to Joyful Bailey's Way. Head on over to whatisheybellsdoing.com to find the resources mentioned throughout this episode. Be sure to follow the show on Instagram at distressed2joyful_Bailey's Way and on Facebook at Distressed to Joyful Bailey's Way. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating on your favorite podcast listening platform or write a review on Audible or Apple Podcasts. Lastly, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with new episode releases. Until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye!